For those uninitiated with Plural, the first step of a Plural user's journey is to set up their cloud credentials and Git credentials in order to deploy applications into their own infrastructure. While those two things are simple, there's a lot of different things that go into deploying individual applications and managing the Kubernetes cluster itself. We've spent a lot of time refining this process over the last few months, and we feel like we've come to a really good place with it. Instead of having the application selection be at the beginning, we have moved it to the end, where instead we walk you through every single configuration option for the applications, instead of having you do that through the Cloud Shell. Let's show you an example. So here we can see the aforementioned application select screen. We can go ahead and filter through any of the applications that we want that are available in our marketplace. After we're done doing that, we can go ahead and proceed to the next step, which is setting up our Kubernetes cluster in the individual applications. If you're a Plural veteran, you'll notice that all of these configuration options, such as VPC name, would be done through the local CLI or the Cloud Shell, where you would enter the information with an interactive terminal session. However, now, if you do this process using our in-browser onboarding, you will get an interactive text input session rather than the CLI session that you would have before. If you're an experienced Plural user, you may notice that some applications are automatically installed no matter what. This is because they're dependencies for other applications. We have this screen now which tells you specifically which applications are dependencies and why they're installed. Once we've double-checked all our configuration, we can go ahead and click Install. This will kick off the process of running Plural build and Plural deploy for us, so we no longer have to do that manually. If you're used to using the Plural CLI, you'll notice that the Plural bundle install commands were automatically done for you. Now that we've checked out the new onboarding experience, let's move on to the console. One of the first things that you'll probably notice in our updated console is the improved navigation. The way that you used to select apps in our old console was through a drop-down menu in the top right. We realized this wasn't exactly intuitive for all use cases, so in addition to the drop-down, we added a main application screen that you can select any application from. Let's go ahead and check one out. So if we go into the application view, we'll notice a few sections that we can access on the left. The first one is the dashboard section, which has been revamped and improved. We now have a lot of new graphs that more elegantly show storage performance, utilization, connections, and so on. These ones are tailored for each individual specific application, and for example, this one tells us the performance of the Postgres database that backs the underlying Airbyte instance. We can go ahead and look at all of these graphs here. Let's go ahead and go over to the Runbooks tab, which has also been overhauled. We can go ahead and check out the Postgres scaling alert, which can automatically scale the underlying Postgres database for your Airbyte instance. And we can go ahead and see whether or not we need to scale based off of the alerts that we've been given. We've noticed that there are these occasions in which we've been given these alerts, and based off of this alert, we can automatically trigger the Postgres scaling with this button right over here. Additionally, we can check out every individual component that makes up an installed application that we have on our Kubernetes cluster. While this is notably a very opaque thing that usually requires you to manually use kubectl and other command line tools to find out the things that make up an application, you can do this naturally with our UI. What you'll need to do is you'll need to click on any of these individual components, and you can see the underlying pods that make up that deployment. For example, here's the Airbyte server that backs the underlying Airbyte installation, and we can go ahead and actually cycle or delete this pod if we want to, if it is giving us issues. This is something that is usually done with a kubectl delete command, but you can do this with a click in our UI. Let's go ahead and check out the other things that we can see. We can also look at the Airbyte logs directly from our Plural console. And notably, we can also check out a cost analysis for how much our Airbyte installation is costing us every month. Here we can see that based off of the CPU, memory, and storage that we're using specifically to run Airbyte, it's costing us $26.58 based off of the total cost of our Kubernetes cluster overall. This gives you a lot more insight into exactly what you're spending on and allows you to make informed decisions on how you want to perform cost optimization in the future. If we want to check out other applications, we can go ahead and do that in the main screen, or we can use the menu dropdown to find a specific app that we want. Let's go ahead and check out some of the other sections in the console. We have the build section, which remains mostly as it was before, but with some modern tweaks and improved design. If we go over to the nodes section, we can check out a few improvements, specifically with the graphs that we have to show pod utilization and resource utilization. This allows us to make informed decisions on how we want to schedule pods across our nodes. One of the most important things for cost optimization is making sure that all of your nodes are being efficiently used. For example, we can see that we have a particularly overworked node here. We'd actually improve our spend a lot if we descheduled all of the pods that are running on this node and instead move those workloads to other nodes that can actually take on those tasks. For example, these ones. This allows us to have more efficient usage of our underlying resources. Finally, let's go and check out our new and improved pod screen. Normally, if you were to look for pod information in Kubernetes, this would require you to use kubectl in your command line. This would require at least multiple operations in order to finally arrive at the pod information that you want. Instead of interacting with the command line, you can go ahead and filter for pods that you want for a specific application, for example, Dagster, and then after that, simply click on the pods in order to get the information about them. Additionally, we can perform operations on this if we go even deeper. This allows us to not only debug things quicker, but also forego using the command line for operations that can be done in browser with the Plural Console. One thing that even experienced users of Plural probably didn't know is that you could always have used this button right here to exec into any pod and to directly start performing operations from within that pod. This, to most Kubernetes veterans, is known as using the kubectl exec command. You'll notice that we have printed up here the exact command that you would have had to run yourself if you wanted to exec into the command line using kubectl on your own terminal instance. We've made a lot of other changes and quality of life improvements to the console, including some of the changes that we've made to modernize our audit screen that allows you to see the individual actions that your teammates have performed, but we'll go ahead and let you discover the rest of the changes for yourself. Finally, let's move on to our new pricing screen, which exists in app.plural.sh. Along with the release of the new onboarding experience and the new and upgraded Plural Console, we also have the release of the new Plural Professional Plan, which is our self-serve billing plan that you can find at account and then billing on app.plural.sh. Some of the most notable perks in the Plural Pro plan is the VPN service that comes with it, which is notably difficult to set up on your own, as well as with a really powerful 24-hour SLA. Additionally, you get access to features that involve user management, such as service accounts. These are features that enable collaborations in mid to large scale teams, and you can see the full breakdown of all of the features that you get for the Open Source Pro and Enterprise plans in this chart that we have for you inside the app or on our website at plural.sh/pricing. If you're signed up for Plural as of today, you will receive free Plural Pro access for 3 months. I've really hoped that you've enjoyed going over the new features that we've shipped in Plural 2.0, and I'm really excited to see how people come up with new use cases for Plural, and I'm really excited to see how people feel about the new changes. Feel free to join our Discord community in order to give us feedback on the new designs, and also talk about what you'd like to see in the next version of Plural.